Hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, I'm sorry, but I don't work here. Now, the Tuesday episode of this channel, Alternative Tuesdays, was brought into existence so that I could air things that are not woodworking, different things, whatever I felt like of the day. It could be a tool review, it could be just trying something new, it could be, modifying a tool, it could be anything, it could be welding, could be wood burning, but today's is kind of a bit of a rant. Because there's something that bugs me, and it's getting worse. It used to be that you could go into a certain box store, and in this case, I'm talking about the Home Depot. You could go in there, and they would have cashiers at the cash registers. Now, they had some that were your self-checkouts. And you had an option. You could do the self-checkout, or you could go over and have an actual human being who was getting paid for that job check you out and, put your things through the register. And it would seem that every time I always go to where there's a human. Number one, you get human interaction. It's always nice to say hi to someone, even if you don't know them. It's always nice to say, have a nice day. It's good to have interaction. Even like if there's a problem, you can deal with that person right then and there, and together you can work the problem out. And it never fails that there's always a longer lineup there for these cashiers, for people to stand there to deal with the cashier. And always there's someone saying, "Excuse me, sir, but the self-checkouts over here on aisle 6, they're available." And my response is always the same. And that response is, "No, thank you. I don't work here." And while that may seem a little harsh or a little rude, I think it gives a message, because I don't work there. I work a full-time job. And I'm not talking about YouTube. This is not my full-time job. This is my hobby. So I have a full-time job, 40 plus hours a week. I do YouTube as a side gig to have some fun, and it's kind of my hobby, and I share my hobby with all of you guys out there. I don't have a job as a cashier at a Home Depot. So after working all day long or out here in the shop filming or whatever it is that I'm doing, I sure as heck don't want to go to a retailer to purchase something and then have to stand there and figure out how to use the cash register, because that's not my job. It's not what I do. It's not what I'm trained to do. But at least I had options. I could say, "I'm sorry, I don't work here," and stick with the cashier. And then I always, whenever I'm done with the cashier, I always say, "Have yourself a great day," because I'm sure that there's somebody before them that they had to deal with that wasn't as nice or wasn't as pleasant. So it never hurts to say, "Have a nice day" to somebody, and it could make their day. It could make a difference. However, I went to Home Depot the other day, and lo and behold, the local Home Depot in my area, the one that is closest to me, no longer has cashiers, period. None whatsoever. Zero. Every single register, every single one, I think there's like 14 of them, they are all self-checkouts. Every single one. With a great big touch screen. They've got the little firing gun that reads the UPC symbols on the products. Every single one is a self-checkout. No cashiers. This is a problem in my mind. I see this as a problem because, number one, as you've already heard me say, I don't work here. That's the first problem. The second problem is that they're taking jobs away from people. We live in an economy, we're like borderline recession here. We are borderline having a failing economy. Unemployment is through the roof. And then you got a big corporation like Home Depot that turns around and removes people's jobs being cashiers to put in these self-checkouts so that a guy like me who doesn't work here has to check out his own things. Now, okay, so now we've lost jobs. We've lost jobs. I don't work here, so now you're inconveniencing me. And on top of that, at some point in time, this is the way I see things going. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm the crazy one. But at some point in time, I see where people are going to be going through these self-checkouts and doing one of these. Okay, well, I got 10 of these. I'll just scan, boop, 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 3, and put them in the bag. Now, there's 7 products that they didn't pay for. Now, I'm not saying that people are dishonest. I'm just saying the temptation is there. Even if they didn't do it on purpose, let's say they do it accidentally, and that happens too. I'm sure it happens too. Like, it's unavoidable. We're not trained to do the job. So at some point in time, the losses for Home Depot are going to start adding up because product is going to be gone out of inventory without it matching the revenue that was brought in from sales. And as soon as you get that mismatch, as soon as you get that out of balance, that out of whack of the scales of business, you're looking at losses. And as soon as you start looking at losses, no matter how big or how small, you have to compensate those losses in some way, shape, or form. And how do you think Home Depot is going to compensate for the losses of people not ringing things through in their self-checkouts? It sure as heck isn't going to be compensated by getting rid of another 6 cashiers and putting in more self-checkout lines. They're going to compensate it by raising the prices of the products. And I don't know if you guys have been to a Home Depot. It doesn't matter. Home Depot, Lowe's, Home Hardware, Rona. It doesn't matter where you go. I don't know if you guys have been to one of these recently, but the prices are already through the roof. So at what point in time do we say enough is enough from them raising it? And now in this case, although you'll never hear the truth of the matter, now they're being raised because things aren't being checked out and they're being taken because we are not trained for the job. We are now not ringing it through the way that we should. At what point is enough? Is it enough? Like, at what point do we put our foot down and say this is crazy? Job loss, price increase, the fact that I don't work here, like, it is absolutely ridiculous. It's not like Home Depot is the only gig in town. Here in Canada, we have multiple alternatives. You've got Rona, you've got Lowe's, you've got Home Hardware, you've got your smaller independent lumber yards. There are all kinds of places that you can go as opposed to Home Depot where you don't have to work while you're there. Either way, guys, it's one of those things where you have to make a decision. You really have to make a decision. Are we going to continue to be a cashier at Home Depot because now they've taken away all of our options? And are we going to potentially expose ourselves to price increases because they're putting in these self-checkouts? Or are we just going to stop going to Home Depot and take our business elsewhere to one of the other players in the game? This seems to be a plague right across the board for a lot of retailers. Big stores like Walmart, the grocery stores. You see it a lot in dollar stores. Now the big box stores. At what point in time is Costco going to start doing this? The bottom line here, guys, is that we're taking the human element out of things here. We are taking away the human element and we are replacing it with a machine. And honestly, I think at this point in time now, and I feel a little hypocritical saying this after just recently talking about how much I love Home Depot's Husky sprayers and that sort of thing. But I think at this point in time, the way it is now, the way that they're taking away the cashiers' jobs and the way that they're installing these machines now to replace humans, I think maybe it's time that I'm going to move away from the big orange store and find myself a new supplier for the things that I need. Because honestly, I think what we need is more human interaction, not interaction with another machine. You guys get enough of that here watching this show. Guys, I want to thank you for tuning in. There's going to be some of you that agree with me. There's going to be some of you that disagree with me, and that's okay. That's what this show is about today. It's starting the conversation. It's getting the conversation going below about what do you think about it? Do you agree with these self-checkouts? Do you find them more convenient? I'm sure that in some cases they are. Or would you rather have the option to do it yourself and be a little more convenient if it is that way? Or would you rather have the interaction with a human? You tell me, what do you think? If you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. You click the bell and then you won't miss the future notifications of the program. Guys, we have a lot of fun here every Tuesday and Friday. Friday being the woodworking portion of the program. Tuesdays can be anything like today's rant, but either way, I hope you're going to consider becoming a part of that. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Drop your comments below. Let me know what you think. And I honestly hope you're going to join me again next week when I bring you yet another human interaction and an alternative Tuesdays.